Beneath the surface of our familiar world lies a hidden reality, vast underground cities, silent and waiting, built to endure the unthinkable. These aren't the stuff of science fiction or ancient myths. They're real, engineered marvels carved deep into the earth by civilizations both past and present. Picture entire communities thriving in labyrinthine tunnels, stocked with everything needed to survive cataclysms, whether natural disasters, wars, or even existential threats. It's a staggering thought. While we go about our daily lives above ground, these subterranean sanctuaries stand as silent guardians of humanity's resilience. What drives people to retreat into the depths of the earth? The answer lies in our oldest instinct, survival. From the shadowy caves of ancient Cappadocia to the cutting-edge bunkers of the modern era, these underground cities reveal a universal truth. When faced with extinction, humans don't just adapt, they engineer miracles. Some were built to escape invading armies, others to outlast volcanic winters or nuclear fallout. Each one tells a story of ingenuity, from ventilation shafts disguised as wells to secret passages that vanish into the rock. These aren't just shelters, they're time capsules of human determination designed to outlast empires, and that's exactly what we're uncovering today. 21 of these extraordinary underground cities, each a feat of engineering and a testament to the unyielding human spirit. We'll journey through ancient tunnels where entire civilizations once hid for generations, explore Cold War-era bunkers designed to withstand atomic blasts, and even peek at futuristic refuges meant for doomsday scenarios. Along the way, you'll discover how these structures were built, who sought refuge in them, and what secrets they still guard. So settle in, because by the end of this exploration, you'll never look at the ground beneath your feet the same way again. The Earth, it turns out, holds more than just roots and rocks. It cradles stories of survival waiting to be unearthed. The choice to carve entire cities beneath the Earth wasn't made lightly. It was a response to threats so dire, they forced societies to rethink survival itself. Imagine a world where the sky is no longer safe. Invading armies sweep across the land, volcanic ash blots out the sun, or the unthinkable rumble of nuclear war looms. Above ground, life becomes fragile, but below, the Earth offers a fortress. It's not just about hiding, it's about thriving in the darkness. These underground cities were masterpieces of necessity, designed with precision to sustain life for months, even years. Take ventilation alone. Some civilizations engineered elaborate air shafts disguised as ordinary wells, ensuring fresh oxygen without revealing their location. Others devised intricate water systems, tapping into underground rivers or carving cisterns to collect every precious drop of rain. What's striking is how these solutions echo across time. The ancient city of Derinkuyu in Cappadocia, for instance, could shelter 20,000 people, complete with stables, chapels, and even wineries, all hidden beneath a single entrance stone. Centuries later, during the Cold War, governments built sprawling bunkers with the same principles: self-contained ecosystems, reinforced walls, and secret exits. The threats changed, but the response didn't. There's a profound lesson here about human ingenuity. When faced with annihilation, we don't just dig holes, we build civilizations in reverse, layering kitchens, schools, and temples beneath the soil. Yet these cities also reveal a darker truth. The fear that drives us underground is as old as humanity itself. For every peaceful refuge, there's a story of siege or persecution. The Jewish rebels at Matmata, the early Christians in Rome's catacombs, The Cold War planners all chose the depths because the surface became untenable. And that's the haunting beauty of these places. They're not just shelters, they're mirrors. The deeper we dig, the more we see ourselves, our fears, our resilience, our unshakable will to endure. Today, as modern billionaires invest in doomsday bunkers and nations stockpile underground reserves, the ancient impulse remains. The bunkers might have fiber optic cables instead of oil lamps, but the blueprint is the same. When disaster comes, the Earth is our oldest ally. And perhaps that's the most humbling realization. For all our technological leaps, we still find solace in the same solution as our ancestors: going underground, where the walls are thick, the enemies are blind, and time itself feels suspended. Deep in the heart of Cappadocia's otherworldly landscape, where wind-carved rock formations tower like chimneys, lies one of history's most astonishing feats of underground engineering: Derinkuyu. This isn't just a tunnel or a simple cave system. It's an entire metropolis stacked 18 levels deep, a vertical city chiseled into volcanic rock with precision that still baffles engineers today. Picture this: 20,000 people, roughly the population of a small modern town, living for months in a labyrinth of chambers connected by staircases barely wider than a person's shoulders. But what's truly remarkable isn't just the scale, it's how every detail was meticulously planned for long-term survival. The city's architects, likely early Christians fleeing Roman persecution in the 7th century, thought of everything. Need fresh air? Ingenious ventilation shafts, cleverly disguised as ordinary wells, funneled oxygen to even the deepest levels, worried about invaders. Massive circular stone doors, each weighing up to half a ton, could be rolled shut to seal off entire sections in an instant. And this wasn't just a place to huddle in fear, it was a functioning community. Archaeologists found chapels with vaulted ceilings, their walls still bearing faint crosses carved by hand centuries gone. There were stables for livestock, their stone troughs worn smooth by generations of animals. Even wineries where grapes were pressed in the dim glow of oil lamps, hinting at a people determined not just to survive, but to live. The discovery of Derinkuyu in 1963 was pure serendipity. A local resident renovating his home knocked down a wall and stumbled into a hidden passage. What followed was the unveiling of a world frozen in time: kitchens with soot-blackened ceilings from ancient fires, storage rooms stacked with clay jars that once held grain and oil, and even a schoolroom with benches carved directly into the rock. But perhaps the most haunting spaces are the narrow escape tunnels, some stretching miles toward other underground cities like Kaymakli. These weren't just neighbors, they were a network, a subterranean civilization linked by secret roads beneath the earth. What's chilling is how Derinkuyu reflects a universal truth about humanity. When faced with existential threats, we don't just retreat, we rebuild. The same hands that carved chapels into the rock also plotted defense systems, holes in the ceiling to pour boiling oil on invaders, communication shafts to relay warnings, and dead-end corridors to confuse enemies. It's a masterclass in resilience, proving that even in darkness, creativity flourishes. And yet, for all we've uncovered, Derinkuyu still guards mysteries. Unexplored tunnels branch into the darkness, some blocked by collapses, others purposefully sealed. Who knows what other chambers lie undiscovered, or what stories their walls could tell? Today, as you walk its dimly lit passageways, the air cool and thick with the scent of ancient stone, it's impossible not to feel the weight of history. This wasn't just a hiding place, it was a declaration. A message carved into the earth itself, saying, "We will endure," and that's the real wonder of Derinkuyu. It's not just a relic of the past, it's a mirror. In its tunnels, we see our own fears, our own ingenuity, and that unshakable human instinct to dig deep, literally and metaphorically, when the world above turns hostile. Just a short journey from Derinkuyu, beneath the rolling hills of Cappadocia, lies its lesser-known but equally fascinating counterpart, Kaymakli. If Derinkuyu was the grand capital of this underground world, Kaymakli was its bustling neighborhood, built with a different philosophy in mind. Where Derinkuyu prioritized defense and scale, Kaymakli's layout reveals something equally remarkable, a focus on community. Walking through its winding passages, you can almost hear the echoes of shared meals and whispered conversations, a testament to a society that chose unity as its survival strategy. The first thing that strikes you about Kaymakli is its intimacy. While it descends only 5 levels compared to Derinkuyu's 18, every inch feels meticulously designed for collective life. Communal kitchens dominate entire chambers, their walls still blackened by centuries of cooking fires. Imagine families grinding grain in shared mills or fermenting wine in communal vats, turning survival into a collaborative act. Storage rooms are arranged like pantries, suggesting resources were pooled rather than hoarded. Even the stables are integrated into living spaces, a stark contrast to Derinkuyu's segregated design, hinting that animals weren't just livestock here, they were neighbors. But the real genius of Kaymakli lies in its connections. Narrow, sloping tunnels link its levels, each corridor just wide enough for people to pass single file, fostering closeness rather than isolation. Archaeologists believe these passages weren't just functional, they were social arteries. Unlike Derinkuyu's defensive choke points, Kaymakli's doorways lack heavy stone barriers, implying trust was their primary safeguard. And then there's the ventilation shaft, so precisely angled they circulate air without drafts, a subtle masterpiece of pre-industrial engineering. What truly sets Kaymakli apart, though, is its role in a much larger network. Tunnels snake outward like roots, some leading to other underground cities, others to surface villages. This wasn't just a hideout, it was a hub. Historians speculate that Kaymakli served as a way station for traders, refugees, or even religious groups moving between subterranean settlements. The presence of metalworking areas and pottery kilns suggests it might have been an underground artisan's quarter, supplying goods to the wider region. Standing in one of Kaymakli's central chambers, you begin to grasp the bigger picture. These cities weren't just about enduring catastrophe, they were about preserving culture. The chapel walls bear faded frescoes of saints, proof that faith wasn't abandoned in the darkness. Grain silos were built near kitchens so that even in siege, bread could be baked fresh. Every detail whispers the same message. Life underground wasn't just about waiting for the surface to be safe again. It was about making the depths feel like home. Yet mysteries linger. Why did Kaymakli's builders choose openness over Derinkuyu's fortress-like secrecy? Was it different threats or a different worldview? And how far did these underground networks truly stretch? Recent ground-penetrating radar has revealed uncharted tunnels stretching toward the horizon, hinting at discoveries yet to come. One thing's certain, Kaymakli challenges our assumptions about subterranean life. It wasn't just a place of fear, it was a place of fellowship, proving that even when forced beneath the earth, humanity's brightest light has always been each other. Beneath the quiet farmlands of northern France, hidden from the rolling countryside above, lies Neyers, a sprawling underground city that became a lifeline for generations facing unthinkable adversity. Unlike the towering rock spires of Cappadocia, Neyers was carved directly into soft limestone, its 300 chambers forming a honeycomb of refuge that expanded over centuries. What began as ancient quarry tunnels transformed into something far more profound, a sanctuary that shielded entire communities from war, plague, and the relentless march of history. Step inside, and the walls themselves tell the story. Centuries-old soot stains mark where families once huddled around fires, baking bread in communal ovens during the 100 Years' War. Chapels with rounded ceilings still bear faint etchings of crosses where villagers prayed for deliverance from marauding armies. But it's the more recent graffiti that stops you in your tracks. Names and dates scrawled by World War I soldiers, many just teenagers who sheltered here during the Battle of the Somme. James Collins, 1916. One inscription reads, a stark reminder that Neyers' role as a refuge spanned eras. These soldiers, far from home and trapped in the horrors of trench warfare, found solace in the same tunnels that had protected medieval peasants from Viking raids. The city's design reveals a masterclass in adaptability. Narrow corridors twist suddenly into vast chambers, some large enough to stable livestock during long sieges. Ingenious air shafts disguised as natural fissures kept the atmosphere breathable even when the surface was choked with smoke or disease. Water wells tapped into underground streams, ensuring survival during months of confinement. But what's most striking is how Neyers evolved with each new threat. During the Black Death, it became an isolation ward. In World War II, a resistance hideout. Unlike Derinkuyu's defensive secrecy, Naours felt almost communal, its multiple entrances suggesting a place where neighbors helped neighbors descend into safety. Today, as sunlight filters through entrance shafts, illuminating centuries of tool marks on the walls, Naours poses a quiet question: what does it mean to outlast disaster? The answer isn't just in the stone, but in the echoes of those who passed through. A child's footprint preserved in clay, a soldier's doodle of a sweetheart back home. These weren't people merely hiding, they were clinging to the rhythms of life, baking, worshipping, carving their names as if to say, I was here. And perhaps that's the untold power of places like Neyers. They remind us that resilience isn't just about surviving the storm. It's about carrying forward the embers of humanity, even in the darkest depths. As modern visitors trace their fingers over those wartime graffiti, the connection across time becomes palpable. The same walls that sheltered a medieval family from swords later comforted a trembling soldier beneath artillery fire. Neyers doesn't just represent survival, it's a testament to the unbroken thread of hope woven through the very rock beneath our feet. Deep beneath the green hills surrounding Krakow, a world of shimmering white corridors and cavernous halls stretches silently through the earth, the Wieliczka salt mine. But to call it just a mine would be like calling the Sistine Chapel just a ceiling. For over 700 years, generations of miners didn't just extract salt here. They transformed the very walls into a breathtaking underground cathedral, where every surface glows with the crystalline beauty of rock salt. Step inside and you're met with chandeliers whose dangling crystals are painstakingly carved from salt blocks, refracting light into 1,000 glittering facets. Chapels with altars, pews, and even floor tiles, all hewn from salt, stand as monuments to the miners' devotion and artistry. This isn't just a workplace, it's a testament to humanity's ability to find beauty in the most unexpected places. The crown jewel of Wieliczka is the Chapel of St. Kinga, a cavernous space so vast it could hold a symphony orchestra, and indeed it has. Every inch of its walls is adorned with intricate bas-reliefs depicting biblical scenes, all carved directly into salt by miners working during their breaks over decades. The Last Supper stretches across one wall, the figures so lifelike you'd swear their robes ripple in the dim light. Even the candles in the chandeliers are salt, their soft glow casting shadows that dance across the salt stone floor. But what's most astonishing isn't just the scale of the artistry, it's the duality of purpose. While these miners labored in backbreaking conditions, they also created a sacred space where they could pray for safety, leaving behind a legacy that transcends their toil. Yet Wieliczka's story takes a darker turn in the 20th century. During World War II, the Nazis seized the mine not for its salt but for its impenetrable depths. Secret tunnels became storage for stolen art and machinery for Germany's war effort. The mine's natural humidity and constant temperature perfect for preserving everything from aircraft parts to precious paintings. Locals whispered of prisoners forced to expand the tunnels under brutal conditions, adding a somber chapter to the mine's history. But even then, the spirit of Wieliczka endured. Some say resistance workers, many of them former miners, covertly mapped the Nazi-held sections, sabotaging equipment when they could quiet rebellion in the heart of the earth. Today, breathing the mine's air saturated with salt particles is said to heal respiratory ailments, drawing visitors seeking both wonder and wellness. But beyond its grandeur, Wieliczka poses a profound question. What does it mean to leave your mark on the world? For these miners, the answer wasn't just in the salt they hauled to the surface, but in the artistry they left behind. Their sculptures weren't signed, their chapels rarely seen by outsiders. They carved for the sake of creating, turning functional tunnels into something timeless. Walking through Wieliczka's echoing chambers, you realize this isn't just a relic of the past. It's a living reminder that even in darkness, humans will always reach for the sublime. The mine's beauty wasn't necessary for survival, yet it became essential to the soul. And that's the true magic of places like this. They prove that underground cities aren't just about enduring the world above. Sometimes they're about transcending it. Perched atop a volcanic cliff in the heart of Italy, the medieval town of Orvieto seems frozen in time, its cobbled streets and Gothic cathedral drawing visitors from across the world. But beneath this postcard-perfect surface lies a secret twice as old. A labyrinth of tunnels, staircases, and vaulted chambers carved by the Etruscans over 2,500 years ago. This isn't just an underground city, it's a time capsule preserving the rhythms of a civilization that thrived centuries before Rome's ascendancy. Descending into Orvieto's depths feels like stepping into the workshop of history itself. The walls, still bearing the precise chisel marks of ancient tools, reveal how the Etruscans didn't just dig haphazard tunnels, they engineered them with purpose. Some chambers housed massive olive presses, their stone bases worn smooth by generations of workers. Others served as columbaria, with hundreds of niches carved for sacred doves, linking the underworld to rituals above. But the most striking spaces are the water cisterns, their arched ceilings echoing with the ghostly drip of moisture. The Etruscans, masters of hydraulics, designed these reservoirs to collect rainwater through hidden channels, ensuring survival during sieges. Walking through them today, you can still see the grooves where buckets once scraped against stone, a mundane yet intimate detail of daily life. What sets Orvieto apart from other underground cities is its layers of reinvention. When the Etruscans abandoned it, medieval residents repurposed the tunnels, turning grain storage pits into refuse dumps, escape routes into wine cellars. During the Renaissance, noble families expanded chambers into secret gardens, their walls etched with graffiti from bored servants. Even World War II left its mark. Locals hid here as bombs shook the cliffs above. This adaptability speaks to something profound about human nature. We don't just inherit the past, we recycle it, bending ancient spaces to meet new fears and needs. Yet the most haunting corner of Orvieto isn't a grand chamber. It's a cramped staircase known as Il Pozzo della Cava. This narrow shaft, rediscovered in the 1980s, was likely an emergency exit for Etruscan elites. Its steps, uneven and worn by countless footsteps, descend into darkness with a quiet urgency. Standing there, you can almost hear the whispers of those who fled through it, aristocrats escaping invaders, families clutching heirlooms, all vanishing into the earth to preserve what couldn't be defended above. Today, as modern archaeologists map newly discovered tunnels with laser scanners, Orvieto continues to surprise. Recent excavations uncovered a perfectly preserved kiln, its last batch of pottery still inside, as if the potter merely stepped away for a moment. Each find peels back another layer, reminding us that history isn't confined to museums or textbooks. Sometimes it's waiting just beneath the cellar floor, in the silent spaces where ordinary lives once unfolded. And perhaps that's the true gift of places like Orvieto. They don't just show us how people survived, they show us how they lived. Beneath the bustling streets of modern Beijing, where neon lights and skyscrapers define the skyline, lies a relic of a far darker era, a sprawling subterranean city built not for tradition but for terror. Constructed in the 1970s at the height of Cold War tensions, this 33-square-mile labyrinth was China's answer to the atomic age, a self-contained refuge designed to shield 6 million people from nuclear annihilation. Imagine an entire parallel metropolis hidden below ground, complete with schools where children could continue their education, theaters to distract from the horrors above, and even silk factories to maintain economic productivity. This wasn't just a bunker, it was civilization in miniature, a desperate blueprint for survival in the shadow of the bomb. Walking through its dimly lit corridors today, the scale of the undertaking is staggering. Walls lined with vintage propaganda posters still urge citizens to dig deep for the motherland. Their faded colors a haunting reminder of the fear that fueled this project. Ventilation shafts disguised as ordinary wells snake up to the surface, while massive blast doors some nearly a foot thick stand ready to seal off sections at a moment's notice. But what's most unsettling are the everyday touches. A dusty classroom with wooden desks arranged in perfect rows, a clinic stocked with decades-old medical supplies, even a mushroom farm designed to provide protein in confinement. These weren't just emergency rations, they were proof that life underground was meant to continue indefinitely. Yet for all its meticulous planning, Beijing's underground city was never used. As the Cold War thawed, the complex faded into obscurity, its tunnels repurposed for storage or abandoned altogether. Locals whispered about secret government expansions, hidden passages leading to leadership bunkers, even rumors of an underground rail system connecting to military installations. But the truth, as often revealed by urban explorers who have mapped its accessible sections, is both simpler and more poignant. This was a place built for a nightmare that never came, a monument to collective anxiety etched into the earth itself. Today, visiting the open sections feels like stepping onto a movie set for a dystopian thriller. The air hangs heavy with dampness, and the occasional flicker of exposed wiring casts eerie shadows on walls marked with decades-old directional signs. Tour guides recount how families were assigned sleeping quarters by work unit, how stockpiles of crackers and pickled vegetables were rotated to prevent spoilage, and how every detail, down to the placement of latrines, was calculated to maintain order amid chaos. It's a chilling glimpse into a past where the unthinkable felt inevitable, where an entire city prepared to vanish beneath its own streets. But perhaps the most telling detail lies in what's missing. Unlike ancient underground cities that bear the scars of actual use, soot from fires, grooves from thousands of footsteps, Beijing's tunnels remain eerily pristine. Their untouched state speaks volumes. They weren't born from lived experience, but from fear of what might be. And in that way, they serve as a different kind of time capsule, not of how we survived disaster, but of how we prepared for a doom that never arrived. Standing in these silent tunnels, you're left wondering, was it all a cautionary tale or a rehearsal for a future we've merely postponed? Burlington Bunker isn't just another Cold War relic. It's an entire shadow capital buried beneath the English countryside, a last-ditch blueprint for keeping the wheels of British government turning after doomsday. Hidden 50 feet below the quaint village of Corsham, this 250-acre complex could house 4,000 officials for up to 3 months, its maze of tunnels stretching nearly a mile long. Picture this: ministers debating policy in underground conference rooms, typists clattering away in secret offices, even a BBC studio ready to broadcast reassuring messages to survivors above. Every detail was engineered for continuity, from the massive diesel generators humming in the darkness to the subterranean lake supplying fresh water. This wasn't just survival, it was bureaucracy at the end of the world. What makes Burlington chilling isn't its scale, but its eerie normalcy. Declassified documents reveal canteens stocked with 1960s-era tinned sausages, dormitories lined with identical bunk beds, and a telephone exchange with direct lines to military bases. The walls were painted cheerful pastels to combat nuclear stress, while maps of the surface world marked with probable blast zones hung beside fire extinguishers. The juxtaposition is jarring, the mundane trappings of office life, replicated with desperate precision beneath layers of reinforced concrete. Even the air filtration systems had a grim twist. They could scrub radiation from incoming air, but were also designed to seal vents if fallout levels spiked, condemning those inside to slow suffocation rather than quick irradiation. The bunker's existence, kept secret for over 40 years, speaks to the paradox of Cold War logic. While ordinary citizens were told to duck and cover under flimsy school desks, the state invested millions in a parallel infrastructure only elites would access. Recent explorers describe finding dusty typewriters still loaded with paper, their carriages frozen mid-sentence, as if the staff simply vanished mid-meeting. One corridor leads to a sealed chamber rumored to be a cabinet war room, its walls lined with empty document racks likely cleared when Burlington was finally abandoned. Yet the most haunting relic isn't machinery or documents, but the human touches. A chalkboard in a makeshift classroom bears half-erased multiplication tables meant for officials' children. A chapel with wooden pews sits near the morgue, acknowledging both spiritual and physical mortality. These details crystallize the bunker's tragic irony. It was built to preserve government, but in doing so, revealed how fragile the society it sought to protect truly was. Now open for guided tours, Burlington stands as a monument to a fear so vast it literally moved mountains, or at least dug through them. Walking its echoing tunnels today, you're left wondering, was this a triumph of preparedness or a confession that some threats can't be engineered away? The answer might lie in the bunker's ultimate fate. When declassified in 2004, officials admitted it would have been useless against modern nuclear arsenals. Like the Etruscan tunnels of Orvieto or the salt cathedrals of Wieliczka, Burlington is ultimately a mirror. Its reinforced walls reflect our oldest instinct to dig, to hide, to outlast, and our newest realization that true safety was never underground at all. Carved into a granite mountain just outside Colorado Springs, Cheyenne Mountain isn't just a bunker, it's a fortress designed to shrug off the apocalypse. This is where America's military brass would have orchestrated the nation's defense during a nuclear war, shielded behind 25-ton blast doors and 2,000 feet of solid rock. The facility's official name, NORAD Cheyenne Mountain Complex, sounds clinical, but stepping inside feels like entering a sci-fi thriller. Massive steel doors, thick enough to withstand a 30-megaton blast, slide open to reveal a self-contained city where every system has a backup, and every backup has another backup. What sets Cheyenne Mountain apart isn't just its armor, but its brain. The facility was built to keep thinking when the rest of the world might go dark. Its war rooms are suspended on colossal springs, allowing the entire complex to sway during earthquakes or shockwaves without interrupting a single radar screen. The air filtration system could scrub radiation for weeks, while underground reservoirs and diesel generators ensured operations would continue even if the surface became uninhabitable. And then there's the tech. Banks of supercomputers, once cutting edge, now feel like retro artifacts from a bygone arms race, their blinking lights hinting at the Cold War paranoia that birthed them. But the real genius lies in the details. The mountain's natural granite acts as a Faraday cage, shielding electronics from electromagnetic pulses that could fry unprotected systems. Hallways curve deliberately to minimize blast damage, while redundant communication lines, some buried deep, others routed through satellites, guarantee contact with missile silos and submarines. Even the facility's location was calculated with chilling precision, far enough inland to avoid coastal strikes, yet central enough to coordinate a continent-wide response. This wasn't just a shelter, it was a chess move in a game where the stakes were extinction. Yet for all its might, Cheyenne Mountain harbors a paradox. While built to endure a nuclear exchange, its original purpose became obsolete almost as soon as the concrete dried. By the 1970s, intercontinental missiles had grown so accurate that even this mountain might not survive a direct hit. Instead of being abandoned, though, the facility adapted. Today, it monitors global airspace for threats far subtler than nuclear Armageddon drones, cyber attacks, even space debris. The same screens that once tracked Soviet bombers now watch for hijacked airliners or rogue asteroids. Walking its corridors today, you're struck by the quiet tension between past and present. Vintage blast doors stand ajar, their mechanisms preserved like museum pieces, while analysts in adjacent rooms track real-time threats on flat-panel displays. It's a living artifact, still on duty but haunted by the specter of the war it was built to fight. And perhaps that's the lesson of Cheyenne Mountain. The defenses we construct against yesterday's nightmares often end up guarding against tomorrow's. The mountain still watches, but the monsters have changed. In the blistering heart of Australia's outback, where summer temperatures soar past 120 degrees, lies a town that quite literally turns the idea of home upside down. Coober Pedy isn't just built on the earth, it's carved into it, a labyrinth of cool, dimly lit dwellings where residents retreat from the relentless sun. What started as a rough-and-tumble opal mining camp in the early 1900s has blossomed into one of the world's most unusual communities, proving that sometimes the most practical solutions are right beneath our feet. Walk through Coober Pedy today and the surface seems almost deserted, a scattering of vents and metal pipes poking through the rust-red earth like industrial cactus spines. But descend a set of stairs into one of the town's dugouts, and you'll find a revelation: spacious living rooms with curved ceilings, their walls left unpainted to showcase the striated rock. The air is a constant 70 degrees, no air conditioning required. Bedrooms glow with soft light from glass bottles embedded in the walls, a clever miner's trick to create privacy without sacrificing illumination. Even the local churches, like the breathtaking Serbian Orthodox Cathedral with its hand-carved pews and vaulted dome, are subterranean masterpieces, their quiet beauty shielded from the scorching winds above. What makes Coober Pedy extraordinary isn't just its ingenuity, but its sheer normalcy. Unlike the defensive bunkers of the Cold War or the ancient refugee cities of Cappadocia, this town chose underground living not out of fear, but pure practicality. Opal miners digging for fortune in the sun-baked soil, realized it was far more comfortable to stay in the tunnels they'd already excavated. Over time, those rough dugouts evolved into proper homes with kitchens, bathrooms, and even swimming pools blasted into the rock. The local underground hotel offers rooms with windows and carefully placed mirrors that reflect the desert sunset into the depths. Yet life here isn't without its quirks. Ventilation shafts double as makeshift mailboxes, and newcomers are warned about opal fever, the dizzying obsession that drives miners to dig just one more tunnel in search of the elusive gemstone. The town's golf course played at night with glowing balls to avoid the heat has no grass, just sand and oiled fairways. Even the cemetery has an underground section where graves are chiseled into the walls like shelves, a silent nod to the town's defining ethos. Why change the earth when you can become part of it? Coober Pedy's real lesson lies in its adaptability. While other underground cities were born from crisis, this town thrives by choice, blending modern comforts with Stone Age simplicity. Solar panels power Wi-Fi in homes with prehistoric rock walls. Tourists sip coffee in a cafe carved in 1960, while next door, miners still chase opals with pickaxes and hope. It's a living reminder that human ingenuity isn't just about surviving extremes, it's about making them feel like home. And perhaps that's the most radical idea of all, that the future of habitation might not lie in towering skyscrapers, but in the quiet, cool embrace of the earth itself. High in the Andalusian hills of southern Spain, where the cliffs glow golden under the Mediterranean sun, the village of Setenil de los Bodegas defies every convention of urban design. Here, the streets don't just run between buildings, they vanish beneath them, swallowed by vast overhangs of limestone that form natural roofs. Houses cling to the rock face like barnacles on a ship's hull, their whitewashed facades blending seamlessly with the stone above. This isn't construction, it's symbiosis, a centuries-old experiment in letting the landscape dictate the shape of human habitation. What makes Setenil extraordinary isn't just its appearance, though walking through the Cal Cuva's Del Sol feels like stepping into a fantasy novel, but the sheer practicality behind its design. The rock overhangs carved by the Rio Trejo over millennia provide natural insulation. Summer heat bakes the surrounding countryside, but beneath these stone canopies, the air stays cool without a whisper of air conditioning. Winter winds howl across the hills, yet the village remains sheltered, its cobbled alleys protected like a child tucked under a blanket. Even the building materials tell a story of efficiency. Walls are often just extensions of the cliff face, with only a front facade added to create enclosed spaces. The genius of Setenil lies in its adaptability. Unlike underground cities built for defense or survival, this village grew organically from resourcefulness. Moorish settlers in the 12th century likely pioneered the technique, recognizing the cliffs as ready-made shelters. Over generations, what began as simple cave dwellings evolved into multi-story homes, their interiors carved deeper into the rock while maintaining traditional Andalusian charm. Bakeries nestle under ledges where ovens benefit from the stone's heat retention, and restaurants serve local tapas in dining rooms where the ceiling is the raw, undulating rock itself. Yet Setenil isn't frozen in time. Modern touches abound: Wi-Fi routers perched beside ancient wooden beams, solar panels discreetly mounted on rock ledges, proving that this architectural marriage of nature and human ingenuity still thrives. The village name hints at its layered history. Setenil derives from the Latin septem Nile, meaning 7 times no, a reference to the Christian forces' failed attempts to recapture it from the Moors. Bodegas nods to the wine cellars later built into the cliffs, their constant temperature perfect for aging sherry. Standing in the Plaza de Andalusia, where the cliff curves like a giant's palm over the town hall, you begin to grasp the deeper lesson of Setenil. This isn't just about shelter, it's about harmony. While other cultures dug tunnels or erected walls, Setenil's residents asked a simpler question: why fight the rock when you can let it embrace you? The answer whispers in the quiet of a home where the back wall is 1,000,000 years old, in the coolness of a bedroom that needs no fan, in the resilience of a village that has weathered centuries by doing something radical, listening to the land. As tourists marvel at the floating houses of Calhareria, where balconies jut daringly over the river gorge, locals go about their lives with unassuming normalcy. A grandmother airs laundry on a terrace carved into the cliff, while children kick a soccer ball down a street half-roofed by stone. This effortless coexistence with the environment feels almost like a quiet rebellion against modern excess. Setenil doesn't just show us how to build, it shows us how to belong. And in a world racing toward ever more complex solutions, perhaps that's the most revolutionary idea of all, that sometimes the best way forward is to lean into what's already there. In the sun-scorched deserts of southern Tunisia, where the heat shimmers off the rocks like liquid metal, the town of Matmata hides an extraordinary secret beneath its dusty surface. Here, homes aren't built up, they're dug down, carved into the soft clay earth in a tradition stretching back millennia. Made famous as the filming location for Luke Skywalker's childhood home in Star Wars, these troglodyte dwellings are far more than a cinematic backdrop. They're a masterclass in adaptation where architecture bends to the whims of climate, creating spaces that stay cool in blistering summers and warm during chilly desert nights. Step inside one of these homes and the genius of their design becomes clear. A central courtyard, open to the sky, acts as the heart of the dwelling, funneling light and air into the surrounding rooms. Thick earthen walls insulate against temperature extremes, while narrow passageways wind between chambers like veins, their curves trapping cool air. What might look like a simple hole in the ground transforms into a cozy labyrinth, sleeping alcoves tucked into niches, kitchens with clay ovens built into the walls, and communal spaces where generations gather under vaulted ceilings. This isn't just shelter, it's a way of life honed by the Berber people over centuries. The Star Wars connection brought global attention, but Matmata's real magic lies in its cultural continuity. Unlike abandoned underground cities frozen in time, these homes are still vibrantly alive. Families cook meals in courtyards where the scent of cumin and slow roasted lamb mingles with the earthy tang of clay. Elders sip mint tea in the shade of palm frond roofs, while children chase each other through tunnels worn smooth by countless footsteps. Even the modern touches, a satellite dish perched near a courtyard, solar panels powering a fridge, feel like natural extensions of an ancient philosophy. Work with the land, not against it. What's most striking is how these dwellings challenge our assumptions about progress. While the world races toward ever more complex climate control systems, Matmata's homes achieve near-perfect thermal regulation with zero electricity. The courtyards, often decorated with vibrant tiles or climbing vines, double as natural air conditioners, their design leveraging the venturi effect to pull cool air through the rooms. It's a reminder that sustainability isn't always about cutting-edge tech sometimes. It's about rediscovering the wisdom buried in traditions. Yet Matmata's story isn't without its tensions. Tourism, while vital to the local economy, threatens to turn living spaces into open-air museums. Some younger residents, lured by modern conveniences, have moved to above-ground houses, leaving ancestral homes to crumble. But for those who stay, the choice is deeper than nostalgia. It's a declaration that comfort and heritage aren't opposites, that a home carved from the earth can hold as much love as one built from concrete. Standing in one of these courtyards at dusk as the fading light paints the walls gold, you begin to understand the real legacy of Matmata. It's not just about surviving the desert, it's about thriving in it, crafting beauty from the very ground beneath your feet. And perhaps that's the lesson these homes whisper across the centuries, that sometimes the most radical act of resilience is simply to stay, to dig in, literally and figuratively, and let the earth embrace you. Beneath the skyscrapers and cobblestone streets of Montreal lies another city entirely, one where winter coats are optional and the sidewalks are always dry. Welcome to Réseau, the sprawling underground metropolis that stretches over 20 miles, connecting 10 metro stations, 2,000 shops, and enough restaurants to dine somewhere new for months. This isn't a relic of ancient survival or Cold War paranoia. It's a living, breathing blueprint for how modern cities might conquer climate, one tunnel at a time. The genius of Réseau, officially known as the Underground City, lies in its sheer normalcy. Unlike the defensive bunkers of history, this network pulses with everyday life. Office workers grab croissants from subterranean bakeries, students study in underground libraries, and shoppers drift between department stores without ever seeing daylight. The key difference: outside, Montreal's winters can plummet to -20 degrees with sidewalks buried under snow. Down here, the temperature stays a steady 68, no matter how fierce the blizzard overhead. It's urban planning turned inside out a city that thrives by retreating inward when the elements turn hostile. But Réseau's real innovation isn't just climate control. It's connectivity. This labyrinth isn't a single tunnel but a web of passages threading through shopping centers, universities, and even concert halls. Need to cross downtown during a snowstorm? Réseau lets you walk from the Museum of Fine Arts to the Bell Center Hockey Arena entirely indoors. The system's design is a masterclass in efficiency. Escalators funnel commuters between metro lines and food courts, while glass atriums bring slivers of natural light into the depths. Some corridors even double as art galleries, their walls lined with rotating exhibitions, proving functionality doesn't have to sacrifice beauty. What's most fascinating is how Réseau evolved. Unlike ancient underground cities carved in crisis, this network grew organically from pragmatism. It began in 1962 with a single mall linked to a metro station, a simple solution to winter foot traffic. Over decades, developers kept adding links like urban dominoes until the tunnels stitched together entire neighborhoods. Today, over 500,000 people use Réseau daily, transforming what started as a convenience into a cultural phenomenon. Yet Réseau isn't without its quirks. First-time visitors often get lost in its maze-like branches, where a wrong turn might lead to a parking garage instead of a train platform. Locals joke about Réseau face, the dazed expression of tourists staring at maps, trying to reconcile the city above with the one below. And while it's a winter haven, summer reveals its irony. On perfect July days, the underground bustles while sunny streets sit quieter. Standing in Réseau's central hub at Place Ville-Marie, where sunlight filters through a massive skylight, you realize this isn't just about escaping cold. It's a radical reimagining of urban space, proof that cities can adapt without losing their vibrancy. Ancient underground cities were about survival. Réseau is about choice. It asks why we should battle the climate when we can simply design around it. And as rising temperatures and extreme weather reshape our world, that question feels more urgent than ever. Montreal's experiment whispers a provocative idea. Maybe the future of cities isn't upward but inward, not as a last resort but as a smarter way to live. After all, if you can have croissants, concerts, and commute without scraping ice off your windshield, why wouldn't you? Long before Beijing's massive underground city captured Cold War imaginations, another labyrinth lay forgotten beneath the capital's bustling streets, Dixia. Built in the 1960s at the height of Sino-Soviet tensions, this sprawling network of tunnels was designed to shelter up to 1 million people from nuclear fallout. But unlike its more famous successor, Dixia didn't fade into obsolescence. It vanished entirely, swallowed by bureaucracy and urban expansion until its accidental rediscovery decades later. Descending into Dixia today feels like stepping into a time capsule of Cold War anxiety. The walls, lined with peeling propaganda murals, show smiling workers wielding shovels beside slogans like "Prepare for war, prepare for famine." Rusted ventilation ducts snake along the ceilings, while faded paint marks designate emergency aid stations and command posts. The most haunting spaces are the empty dormitories, row upon row of concrete platforms where families were expected to sleep shoulder to shoulder, their belongings stashed in cubbies carved into the walls. Unlike Beijing's later underground city, which boasted theaters and schools, Dixia was purely functional, its grim corridors reflecting the austerity of its era. What makes Dixia remarkable isn't just its scale, but its fate. As political winds shifted in the 1970s, maintenance stopped. Tunnel entrances were bricked up or buried beneath new construction, and official maps erased its existence. For 20 years, the complex lay dormant until the 1990s, when urban explorers began noticing odd anomalies, cellar doors in old hutongs leading to vast chambers, shop basements that extended far deeper than they should. The rediscovery unveiled a paradox, a colossal public works project that had been both omnipresent and invisible, remembered by locals but scrubbed from state records. The tunnels themselves tell a story of contradictions. Some sections feature intricate brick arches worthy of a medieval cathedral, while others are rough-hewn passages with exposed rebar. Explorers found stockpiles of gas masks still in their original packaging, their rubber straps disintegrated with age, alongside rusted carts meant to transport supplies. But the most poignant relics are the personal ones: a child's mitten wedged between pipes, a teacup left on a ledge as if its owner would return any moment. These weren't just artifacts of state planning, they were fragments of lives interrupted. Dixia's abandonment raises unsettling questions about the legacy of fear-driven architecture. The labor and resources poured into this project enough to build a small city above ground were ultimately left to gather dust. Unlike Orvieto's repurposed tunnels or Coober Pedys lived in caves, this complex represents a road not taken, a future that never arrived. Yet its ghostly corridors still whisper a warning. In an age of renewed global tensions, when governments once again invest in doomsday scenarios, Dixia stands as a cautionary tale. It reminds us that the structures we build to outlast catastrophe may outlast instead the very fears that birthed them, becoming monuments not to resilience, but to the transience of human anxiety. Today, as sections of Dixia crumble beneath new subway lines and high rises, its murals flaking into oblivion, the complex poses one final riddle. Is it a relic of paranoia or a mirror? The answer might lie in the way its tunnels refuse to disappear entirely, how they linger beneath the feet of unsuspecting pedestrians, a silent testament to the lengths we'll go to feel safe, and the shadows we leave behind when the world doesn't end. Beneath the sun-baked streets of Malta, where Mediterranean light paints every surface gold, lies a darkness so ancient it predates the pyramids, the Hal-Saflieni Hypogeum. This three-level labyrinth, carved from the island's soft limestone over 5,000 years ago, isn't just a burial site. It's a portal to a lost world where death and divinity intertwined in the echoing silence of the earth. The Hypogeum's chambers unfold like the chambers of a colossal stone organism, each room revealing another layer of its creator's genius. Descending into its depths, you pass through the upper-level simple tombs where the dead were laid to rest with red ochre, a symbol of rebirth. Then comes the haunting Holy of Holies, its doorway carved to mimic the temples above ground, as if bridging two worlds. But it's the oracle room that stops visitors mid-breath. Here, a voice spoken softly against the wall resonates through the entire complex, a deep, vibrating hum that feels less like sound and more like something alive. Archaeologists believe this wasn't accidental. The acoustics were engineered, turning the Hypogeum into a subterranean instrument for rituals we can only imagine. What sets this site apart from other underground cities is its sacred intimacy. While Derinkuyu sheltered thousands and Cheyenne mountain guarded nations, the Hypogeum served a quieter purpose. Its walls are adorned with spiral motifs and false windows, echoes of the megalithic temples above, suggesting it was a mirror of the celestial world, a place where the living communed with ancestors. Some chambers are so small they could only accommodate a single kneeling figure, their ceilings blackened by the smoke of oil lamps that burned for centuries. Yet the Hypogeum's rediscovery in 1902 unveiled a macabre puzzle. Excavators found the bones of over 7,000 individuals, many showing signs of deliberate arrangement. Skulls were placed in niches, long bones stacked like cordwood. This wasn't haphazard burial. It was a carefully orchestrated dance between the corporeal and the spiritual. Recent studies even suggest the dead were left to decompose elsewhere before being brought here, their bones transformed into relics. The most tantalizing clue lies in a small, spherical chamber dubbed the Sleeping Lady's Room. Here, a clay figurine of a voluptuous woman was found curled on her side, her painted skirts flowing like waves. Some scholars believe she represents a goddess of the underworld, a guide for souls navigating the darkness. Others think she's a symbol of eternal sleep, her curves echoing the Hypogeum's own womb-like chambers. Standing in the lowest level, where the air hangs heavy and the weight of millennia presses down, you begin to grasp the Hypogeum's true power. Unlike the defensive tunnels of Cappadocia or the utilitarian bunkers of the Cold War, this was a place designed not for survival but transcendence. The architects didn't just carve stone, they sculpted belief, turning rock into a conduit between worlds. Today, as visitors whisper into the oracle room's walls and the echoes ripple through time, the Hypogeum whispers back a reminder that beneath our pragmatic shelters and doomsday bunkers, humans have always sought something deeper than safety. We've dug not just to hide but to touch the divine, and in these silent chambers that longing still resonates, as palpable as the hum in the ancient stone. Half buried in the rose-red cliffs of southern Jordan, Petra defies simple categorization. It's neither fully underground nor entirely above, but a mesmerizing hybrid of both. While most ancient cities rise skyward, Petra's architects worked in reverse, carving temples, tombs, and even an entire amphitheater directly into the living rock. The result is a place that feels both monumental and hidden, its most breathtaking structures half concealed behind narrow slot canyons or tucked into towering sandstone facades. This isn't just architecture, it's alchemy, where the boundary between natural wonder and human ingenuity blurs beyond recognition. What makes Petra extraordinary isn't just its beauty, but its audacious engineering. In a desert region where water was scarcer than gold, the Nabateans designed a hydraulic system so advanced it put contemporary Roman aqueducts to shame. Hidden channels carved into cliff faces funneled seasonal floods into a network of cisterns and ceramic pipes, some so precisely sloped they functioned without pumps. The sick Petra's iconic entrance canyon doubled as a water highway, its walls still bearing the grooves of ancient terracotta pipelines. Even more impressive were the secret tunnels, some wide enough for chariots, that connected key structures beneath the city's surface. These weren't just shortcuts, they were a subterranean nervous system, allowing rulers and priests to move unseen while ordinary life unfolded above. The city's crown jewel, Al-Kosne, the treasury, epitomizes this duality. Its ornate Hellenistic facade, glowing like embers in the desert sun, conceals chambers that plunge deep into the cliff, some rumored to link to undiscovered tunnels. Local legends whisper of hidden treasures buried in these depths, but the real treasure is the structure itself. Every column and statue was chiseled from the top down, a dizzying feat of reverse engineering that required workers to rappel down the rock face, removing stone layer by layer as they descended. The same technique shaped Petra's tombs, their interiors cool and shadowy even at midday, their thresholds marking the transition from scorching daylight to sacred darkness. Yet Petra's greatest marvel might be its adaptability. Unlike static underground bunkers, this city evolved with its people. When earthquakes collapsed portions of the water system, the Nabateans rerouted channels through newly carved tunnels. When Roman influence grew, they added classical columns to existing facades without altering the underlying structure. Even Petra's eventual decline played out in layers. Byzantine Christians converted tombs into chapels. Crusaders fortified hidden chambers, and Bedouin tribes later used the caves as seasonal shelters. This wasn't a city frozen in time. It was a living palimpsest, each generation leaving its mark without erasing what came before. Standing in Petra's colonnaded street at dusk, as the cliffs shift from pink to deep burgundy, you begin to grasp the genius of this half-hidden wonder. It challenges our very definition of an underground city. Petra didn't retreat from the elements, it harnessed them. Its builders didn't fear the rock, they collaborated with it, turning weaknesses like flash floods into strengths. And perhaps that's the lesson humming through these canyon walls. True resilience isn't about hiding from the world or conquering it. It's about finding the balance between the two, crafting splendor in the spaces where Earth and humanity meet. Beneath the dense jungles of Vietnam, where the air hums with the buzz of insects and the rustle of palm leaves, lies a hidden battlefield, one fought not with tanks and airstrikes, but with shovels and sheer willpower. The Cu Kai tunnels are a sprawling, claustrophobic maze stretching over 120 miles, a subterranean city born from desperation and ingenuity. These weren't just hiding places, they were the lifeblood of the Viet Cong, a fully functional underground network where soldiers lived, fought, and even raised families beneath the feet of their enemies. Step into one of these tunnels today, many now widened slightly for tourists, and the reality of wartime survival hits hard. The original passages were so narrow that only the smallest fighters could navigate them, their walls reinforced with bamboo to prevent collapse. Air vents, cleverly disguised as termite mounds, dotted the jungle floor, while hidden trapdoors led to kitchens where smoke was filtered through layers of earth to avoid detection. Hospitals carved into the clay walls treated everything from bullet wounds to malaria, their operating tables lit by makeshift oil lamps. Command centers, complete with maps and communication lines, coordinated attacks that seemed to come from nowhere, leaving opposing forces baffled by an enemy that could vanish into the earth itself. The tunnel's design was a masterclass in psychological warfare. Booby traps sharpened bamboo stakes smeared with human waste to ensure infection, lined escape routes, while false dead ends confused pursuing soldiers. Some chambers even doubled as ambush points, where Viet Cong fighters would emerge silently behind disoriented troops. but perhaps the most astonishing feat was the sheer scale of daily life underground. Entire villages relocated beneath the surface, with schools teaching children to identify bomb sounds and workshops repurposing unexploded American ordnance into new weapons. This wasn't just a military base, it was a parallel society thriving in darkness. What's often overlooked is how the tunnels evolved. Originally dug during the French colonial era, they expanded dramatically in the 1960s, adapting to new threats like chemical defoliants and seismic sensors. When U.S. forces flooded tunnels with water or gas, the Viet Cong built watertight compartments and diversion channels. When bombs shook the earth, they reinforced ceilings with railroad ties scavenged from downed supply trains. Every countermeasure birthed a new innovation, turning the network into a living, breathing organism that outmaneuvered technology with pure creativity. Today, preserved sections of the Kukai Tunnel serve as a stark reminder of resilience. Visitors can crawl through a fraction of the original passages, their arms scraping against damp clay, and emerge with a fraction of the understanding of what it meant to live this way for years. Bullet-riddled tanks left above ground as exhibits underscore the tunnel's effectiveness. These rusted hulks were once the terror of the jungle, rendered nearly useless against an enemy who refused to fight on conventional terms. The legacy of Kukai isn't just about warfare. It's a testament to the extremes humans will endure to defend their homes and how the earth itself can become both shield and weapon. Unlike the grand underground cities of antiquity, built over generations, these tunnels were carved in urgency, their rough walls a diary of desperation and defiance. And in that urgency lies their most profound lesson, that sometimes survival isn't about strength or technology, but the willingness to dig deeper, literally and metaphorically, than anyone thought possible. As our planet faces unprecedented challenges, rising seas, extreme weather, even the specter of future pandemics, the next generation of underground cities is being designed not as last resorts, but as visionary solutions. Gone are the grim bunkers of the Cold War era. Today's subterranean architects are reimagining the depths as spaces of sustainability, even luxury. Take the ambitious Earthscraper concept proposed for Mexico City, a 65-story inverted pyramid descending beneath the historic Zocalo Square, its glass-bottomed floors allowing sunlight to filter through terraced gardens, apartments, and cultural spaces. This isn't about hiding from the world, it's about redefining it. What sets these modern projects apart is their focus on harmony with the environment. In Singapore, where land is scarce, the Underground Master Plan envisions shopping malls, data centers, and even farms stacked beneath the city-state streets, reducing surface sprawl. The designs incorporate geothermal cooling and hydroponic gardens, turning energy-intensive systems into self-sustaining loops. Meanwhile, in Norway, the Svalbard Global Seed Vault has inspired a new wave of climate-proof architecture, like the proposed Under Hotel, where submerged rooms offer panoramic views of marine life while their concrete shells double as artificial reefs. These structures don't just adapt to the earth, they actively heal it, but the most radical shift lies in attitude. Billionaires might still build private doomsday bunkers in New Zealand, but forward-thinking communities are prioritizing collective resilience. Helsinki's underground masterplan connects swimming pools, churches, and a massive data center using existing bedrock tunnels, creating a shared civic space that stays warm in winter and cool in summer. In China's Sichuan province, the sunken courtyard, tradition is being updated with smart glass roofs that regulate temperature, proving ancient wisdom can meet modern tech. Even children's education is evolving. Oslo's subterranean schools use immersive projections of outdoor landscapes to combat claustrophobia, blending psychology with architecture. The challenges, of course, remain daunting. How do we address the psychological toll of long-term subterranean living? Experiments like Tokyo's Alice City offer clues. Its underground complexes feature soaring atriums with holographic skies and sunlight mirrors that track real-time weather above. Others focus on biophilic design, vertical gardens fed by LED grow lights or soundscapes piping in birdsong. Then there's the question of equity. Will these spaces become gated utopias for the wealthy, or can they serve broader populations? Barcelona's Lifeline project suggests an answer, transforming abandoned subway tunnels into vibrant public parks with affordable housing overhead. Perhaps the most compelling vision comes from the deserts of Arizona, where the Arcasanti team is prototyping underground arcologies as self-contained ecosystems where waste becomes energy and every drop of water is recycled. It's a far cry from the survivalist fantasies of yesterday. These pioneers aren't preparing for the end of the world, they're redesigning it from the ground down. And in that shift lies a profound revelation. The future of underground living isn't about fear, it's about possibility, not retreat but reinvention. As the climate crisis reshapes our relationship with the surface, the Earth itself may become our greatest ally, offering not just refuge but renewal. Standing at the intersection of ancient wisdom and cutting-edge innovation, these projects remind us that the next chapter of human habitation won't be written in skyscrapers or suburban sprawl. It will be carved once again into the quiet resilience of the underground, where the solutions to our most pressing problems might just be waiting beneath our feet. The human mind wasn't built for perpetual darkness. We're creatures of circadian rhythms, wired to wake with sunlight and rest under stars. So what happens when those natural cues vanish? Research from extreme environments reveals a paradox about underground living. While prolonged isolation in confined spaces can fray mental health, the right conditions can also foster unexpected resilience. Scientists studying Antarctic research stations and submarine crews have found that the absence of natural light disrupts sleep patterns and serotonin levels, leading to depression in some cases. Yet these same studies uncovered a counterintuitive phenomenon. When properly designed, underground spaces can become cognitive sanctuaries, offering relief from the sensory overload of modern life. One key lies in controlling environmental factors. Biophilic design incorporating natural elements into artificial spaces has shown remarkable success in subterranean settings. Take Stockholm's Bergby Bostad's underground apartments, where LED panels mimic the shifting colors of sunset and dawn, tricking the brain into maintaining healthier sleep cycles. Vertical gardens fed by hydroponic systems provide visual greenery, while soundscapes of flowing water mask the oppressive silence of bedrock. These aren't just aesthetic touches, they're neurological lifelines. MRI scans reveal that exposure to simulated nature underground activates the same prefrontal cortex regions as walking through a forest, easing stress hormones. Social architecture proves equally vital. Historical examples like Cappadocia's underground cities thrived because they prioritized communal spaces, chapels for worship, shared kitchens for gathering. Modern psychologists note how these features combat the bunker mentality observed in poorly designed nuclear shelters, where isolation breeds paranoia. Contrast this with the cooperative spirit of Coober Pedy's dugout residents, whose underground pubs and churches foster connection. The lesson: subterranean communities flourish when they replicate the social scaffolding of surface life, not just its physical necessities. Perhaps most fascinating are the cognitive shifts unique to underground living. miners and tunnel workers often report developing heightened senses of smell and touch, a biological adaptation to low light conditions. Some studies suggest the brain's default mode network, responsible for introspection and creativity, activates more intensely in windowless environments. This might explain why underground artists' colonies from Berlin to Montreal produce such avant-garde work. The mind, unchained from visual distractions, turns inward. Yet the psychological risks remain real. Accounts from Cold War bunker personnel describe deep time disorientation, the inability to track days without sunlight. Modern solutions range from simple color-coded lighting that shifts with artificial seasons to sophisticated virtual reality windows streaming real-time outdoor views. The common thread: humans need connection to nature, to each other, to time itself, whether we're 30 stories up or 30 meters down. As we contemplate cities beneath cities, these insights become blueprints. The future of underground living isn't about surrendering to darkness, but redesigning our relationship with it, because the greatest challenge isn't engineering stable tunnels, it's preserving the fragile light within the human mind. Digging into the earth to escape environmental crises presents a profound paradox. Can we really save the planet by moving beneath it? Underground cities promise reduced surface sprawl, slashed energy consumption, and protection from climate extremes, but their construction tells a more complicated story. Excavating millions of tons of rock requires diesel-guzzling machinery, while concrete, the lifeblood of subterranean construction, accounts for 8% of global carbon emissions. The very act of building these sanctuaries can accelerate the damage they're meant to mitigate. Yet compare this to the alternative: endless suburban expansion chewing through forests, or glass skyscrapers that bake urban heat islands under summer sun. The ecological ledger isn't straightforward. Take Montreal's réseau, where the energy savings are undeniable. By clustering shops, offices, and transit underground, the city avoids heating snow-clogged streets and powers its tunnels with geothermal energy drawn from the earth itself. Winter heating demands plummet by 40%, a blueprint for northern cities grappling with energy insecurity. But contrast this with Beijing's abandoned Dixia, where excavation debris was dumped in nearby rivers, choking ecosystems. The difference lies in intentionality. Modern projects like Helsinki's underground masterplan now use tunnel boring sludge to create artificial reefs, while Singapore's subterranean farms repurpose abandoned quarries. It's not just about digging, it's about closing the loop. The real game changer: passive climate control. Ancient sites like Derinkuyu required zero energy to maintain 60-degree temperatures year-round, thanks to the Earth's natural insulation. Contemporary architects are rediscovering this wisdom. Norway's restaurant uses the surrounding fjord's thermal mass to regulate its temperature, while Arizona's underground Arcasanti prototype needs no air conditioning in 110-degree summers. These designs hint at a future where underground living isn't just sustainable, it becomes a carbon-negative act, with geothermal heat pumps and algae-based air filtration turning tunnels into literal carbon sinks. Yet the biodiversity cost remains thorny. Subterranean expansion can disrupt aquifers, collapse animal burrows, or block ancient migratory routes. Wildlife biologists point to Seoul's sprawling underground shopping districts, where vibrations from trains and crowds have driven away endangered Korean clawed salamanders from their limestone cave habitats. But innovators are fighting back. London's proposed low-line park includes vertical habitat chimneys that let light penetrate while creating nesting spaces for birds and bats. It's a reminder that our solutions must consider not just human comfort, but the fragile networks already thriving beneath our feet. The ultimate test may be psychological. Can we shift from seeing underground spaces as emergency bunkers to viewing them as ecological partners? The Etruscans carved Orvieto cisterns to work with water tables, not against them. Modern cities could adopt this mindset, using subsurface layers to store rainwater, house renewable energy grids, or even cultivate protein-rich mycoprotein in disused tunnels. The Earth isn't just our escape hatch, it's the original green architect, and if we listen, its lessons could rewrite the future of urban living, not as a retreat from the world above, but as its silent ally. The gates to many underground cities remain locked, their corridors guarded by military checkpoints or obscured by bureaucratic red tape. This secrecy sparks an ethical dilemma: who truly owns the spaces beneath our feet? On one hand, places like Burlington Bunker or China's Dixia were built with taxpayer funds, suggesting public claim. Yet governments argue that national security or preservation concerns justify restricted access. The debate isn't just about locked doors, it's about who gets to write the narrative of history. When a Cold War bunker is sealed away, its stories of panic, preparation, and paranoia risk fading into myth. Archaeologists and historians often clash with authorities over these restrictions. Take Beijing's underground city, where only sanitized sections are open for tourism, while vast stretches remain classified. Scholars argue that studying the full complex could reveal insights about Mao-era civil defense strategies, but officials cite structural risks. Similar battles rage in Malta, where humidity from tourist breath threatens the fragile paintings in the Hal-Saflieni Hypogeum, forcing strict visitor quotas. The question isn't merely about preservation versus access, it's about whose priorities take precedence. Should a site's physical integrity outweigh the public's right to engage with its history? Meanwhile, repurposing underground spaces presents its own moral maze. In Cappadocia, some cave dwellings have been converted into boutique hotels, complete with Wi-Fi and rainfall showers. While this breathes new life into ancient structures, conservationists warn of eroding authenticity. A frescoed chapel turned into a honeymoon suite might attract tourism dollars, but at what cultural cost? Contrast this with Helsinki's approach, where WW2 bomb shelters now house data centers and swimming pools, practical adaptations that honor the site's original purpose of communal protection. The line between innovation and exploitation blurs when profit enters the equation. The most contentious cases involve active military use. Cheyenne Mountain's ongoing role in NORAD operations makes public tours impossible, while rumors swirl about undisclosed tunnels beneath Washington, D.C. or Moscow. Here, secrecy isn't just about preservation. It's a geopolitical chess piece, yet even classified sites eventually resurface, sometimes literally. When London's Kingsway Exchange tunnels, once a Cold War communications hub, were declassified in 2008, urban explorers found abandoned phone exchanges and propaganda films intact. Their discovery reignited debates. How many other time capsules lie hidden? And when does their historical value outweigh security concerns? Perhaps the answer lies in tiered accessibility. Petra's Sick Canyon balances mass tourism with protected areas, while Norway's Svalbard Seed Vault allows limited scientific access without compromising its mission. Technology offers middle grounds to virtual reality reconstructions of fragile sites like the Lascaux Caves. Let millions visit without physical harm. The ethical path forward may not be binary. It might mean treating underground cities not as relics or resources, but as living negotiations between memory and modernity. After all, the Earth remembers what surfaces forget, and deciding who gets to listen is the real subterranean power struggle. From the candlelit chapels of Derinkuyu to the humming servers of Helsinki's underground data centers, these subterranean marvels tell a story far older than concrete or steel. It's the story of us. When skies turn hostile, when enemies approach, when the very air threatens to choke us, humans don't just flee. We dig, we build, we reinvent. These hidden cities are more than feats of engineering. They're mirrors reflecting our best and worst selves, the paranoia that drives us to hollow out mountains, and the creativity that fills those hollows with art, music, and community. Consider the contrast between ancient and modern. Cappadocia's residents carved wineries into the rock, determined to preserve not just life, but joy. Cold War planners stockpiled tinned sausages in Burlington bunker, clinging to routine amid Armageddon. Today's architects draft underground parks with holographic skies, refusing to let darkness diminish wonder. The thread connecting them, an unshakable belief that survival isn't enough. We demand meaning even in the depths, yet these cities also serve as warnings. Some, like Dixia Cheng, stand as monuments to fears that never materialized, their silent tunnels, whispering how easily preparation can tip into obsession. Others, like the Kai tunnels, remind us that resilience often blooms in the bleakest soil, but at what cost? The earth shelters us, but it also isolates. The challenge isn't just technological, it's human. Can we design subterranean spaces that nurture connection, not just survival? The answer might lie in the past. Petra's water channels and Setenil's natural cliffs prove the smartest solutions work with the earth, not against it. Modern projects are catching on. Singapore's underground farms use geothermal energy, while Norway's seed vault guards biodiversity. These innovations suggest a radical idea, that going underground isn't about escaping the world but rebalancing it. So as climate change reshapes our surface, as overcrowding strains our cities, the question isn't just whether we can live below. It's whether we can do so wisely, building not bunkers, but bridges between what was and what could be. The next chapter of human habitation won't be written in steel and glass alone. It will be carved, as always, in the patient stone beneath our feet, where the oldest lessons in adaptation wait to be rediscovered. Would you trade sunlight for safety? A skyscraper view for a bedrock vault? The choice might not be theoretical for long, but one thing's certain. If history's any guide, we'll meet that choice with the same stubborn brilliance that turned caves into cathedrals and fear into futures. The Earth's depths have always been a canvas. What we paint their next panic or promise is up to us.